What's up, everyone? You know what day it is. It's time for your next dose of Warrior Wednesday with your host, that Wounded Warrior guy. That's me. And today we're going to be doing a video on how you guys can improve your credit score in some quick and easy steps. But before we get into the actual video and I give y'all that awesome information, I want to remind everybody, if you wouldn't mind throwing me a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel if you're enjoying this content, and sharing the video, do one of those things for me. I would really appreciate it. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my notes and we're going to get right into it. So, this video, like I said, guys, is how you guys can improve your credit score. And, what is your credit score good for? Well, if you want to go out and you want to purchase a vehicle, if you want to go out and you want to get that nice, lovely home with that beautiful backyard, whatever it is, and you want to get the loan and you want to do all these things, you got to have the credit score in order to do it. The better your credit score, the higher the loan that you're going to get, you're going to receive, the lower the APR that you're going to have to pay in interest every year, and it's just going to help you save that money, and it's going to help you have bigger and better things in your life, the things that I know that you guys really want. So this video is how I personally was able to raise my credit score from 570 all the way up to 715 in less than 3 years. I know, guys, 3 years sounds like a long time, but whenever we're talking about making changes to the credit score, 3 years is really nothing. So the first key points that I want to point out to you guys is like how I was able to go about doing it. And basically, the first thing that you got to do is you got to be able to determine what your actual credit score is. And the way that you do that is all you have to do is you look up, find out what your FICO, TransUnion, and Equifax scores are, and you add those three numbers together. You take the average, so add those three numbers together, divide by 3. That resulting number is what your credit score is. And then what I had to do once I found out my credit score was sitting at about that 570, obviously that's not good. I decided that I had to do something about it. So I had to determine what was holding my credit score back. Personally, it was student loans and medical bills. Whenever I was younger, there were a lot of things that I did, a lot of dumb things that I did that resulted in me having to have some hospital visits and get some medical bills that I went years without paying. Those medical bills had a negative impact on my credit score, as well as student loans that I took out the first time that I decided to attempt going to college. I took out some student loans. I didn't utilize that money in a smart way, and I went 8 years without even starting to pay them back. And those things just had a hard impact on my credit score, and it dropped it way down. The next thing that I had to do is I had to determine what factors contributed to affecting my credit score. So factors that typically affect your credit score is going to be your account utilization, which we'll get into later, the age of your credit history, and the number of accounts that you actually have in your name. Then I had to make a plan to tackle my debt in small, reasonable pieces to make sure that it would begin rising and begin getting to that number that I needed it to be so that I could go out and I could get the things that I wanted. And pretty excited about this video because I'm going to give you guys not just one, but I'm going to give you guys two trajectories, two paths that you can follow depending on what you want to accomplish and what time you're giving yourself to do it. So we're going to go over a short-term pathway and a long-term pathway. And just to save us a little bit of time, I'm going to let you know that the long-term pathway includes all the steps from the short-term pathway, and it's just the additional steps that I go over in that second section. But if you're going to go through the long-term credit score improvement path, remember that you still have to include those first key bullets that we're about to go over now. All right, so I want to improve my credit score because I want to purchase a home and I want to do it in 2 years. Halston, what do I do? All right, First thing that you need to do, you need to pay off your debt as fast as you possibly can, right? If it's debt that is having a negative impact on your credit report. What do I mean by that? I'm not saying that that new Toyota that you just bought that cost $50,000, go out and put the last $45,000 down on that car to pay it off. That's not what I'm saying, because when you make a purchase like that, as long as it doesn't increase your income to debt ratio, we're talking about homes here, income to debt ratio to a point that surpasses 40%, then that's fine, because as you make those payments, those monthly payments towards that vehicle, that actually helps boost your credit score. What I'm talking about is, let's say that you got that student loan, you got it 5 years ago, and it defaulted and went into collection and you never paid on it. Let's say that you got that credit card from that bank whenever you was 18 years old, you maxed it out and never paid on it. Go pick one of those accounts, pick the one that you can handle, pay it off, move forward. Pay off the debt that's having a negative impact on your credit score. That's step number one. Step number two, make sure to prioritize any accounts that show either overdue payments or defaulted loans that are in collections. These accounts will be reflected in your credit history as having a hard impact on your credit score. They also create negative notes or negative hits on your report that can still keep your score low even after you resolve the debt on the account. Now, whenever you prioritize those accounts, prioritize those loans, those cards, whatever has went a long time without being paid on, make sure, because once it's went overdue for so long, once it's went into collections, it creates a negative hit on your credit report. Even after you make the payment on that account, even after you get that account balance down to zero, you still have to contact the credit company. So you can get one of those. You need to contact one of those credit relief like counselors, and pay them a small fee, and they can go in and they can manually challenge those negative hits on your account. And once they send in the paperwork to challenge those negative hits, and once the I guess whatever the main company is that monitors your credit report, those individuals, once they go in there and they have that claim like, hey, why is this negative hit in here? They go in and they see that it's been paid, they will manually remove it. But if you don't go through that process, those negative hits, those negative notes can stay on your credit report for years, even after you've already paid off the account. And it can still have a negative influence on your score. All right, just keep that in mind. Next point I want to go over, monitor your accounts and set your monthly payable bills to auto pay to ensure that nothing becomes overdue, right? So once we get grown up, we're big boys and big girls, we're out in the world, we have all these bills, we have all these responsibilities. It's easy to overlook and it's easy to forget about those small bills. It's easy to forget to make sure to send in that car payment, to make sure to pay the electrical bill on time, to make sure to do all these things. Go into your phone, open up those accounts, set everything to auto pay so that it's automatically done, and then verify it. So set it 48 hours early before it's actually going to be due. Verify it the day after to make sure that the payment went through, so you give yourself time. If something happens and something messes up on the technology side, you can still go in and you can enter it manually, and you can do it before that payment or that bill is overdue, because as soon as it's overdue, it's just going to knock your credit score way down. All right, next, if you are in the position to do so, try and add additional payments towards things you are trying to pay off every single month, right? So like, let's say that you're trying to build up your credit score and you have a credit card and you are making those minimum payments every single month. Once you make your minimum payment, go in, pay an additional $5. It can be any amount. It can be $5, $10, it can be $100, whatever it is. Make that second payment. That second payment will have a positive influence on raising your score even quicker than just paying the minimum balance. All right. Now, I want you guys to keep all of those points, all those bullets in the back of your mind. And now we're going to transition over to long-term credit score improvement, the long-term pathway, the one that I have set up for you guys. This is going to be geared more towards people who might be younger, might not be looking to go out and purchase that vehicle, might not need to go out and purchase that home, but they know that 10 years down the road, they're going to want those things. And they have time on their side and they're able to kind of hit the ground running and start off on the right path. Well, this pathway is for you guys. So the first thing that I want you to do, now this is, remember, keep all the other stuff in mind. Like if you have a bunch of debt, outstanding debt, this is not where you'll start. You'll still start with the outstanding debt part. But once you have everything in the short term taken care of, and you're not looking to make big purchases that you will need a high score for, now this is what you do. And keep in mind, guys, that doing this, initially your credit score will drop. All right, I'm going to explain that to you. What I want you to do is I want you to open up new accounts. Your credit score and your credit report is reflected in how many accounts and how much overall credit you have in your name, right? So let's say that I have one credit card. That's the only account that I have. One credit card. I pay the monthly payment. I'm never late, never been late. My payment history is 100%. Never missed a payment. And like I'm green all the way through. Because I have just one account, my credit score can only go so high because I don't have a lot of credit and I'm not taking on a lot of responsibility. Therefore, my credit report will be reflected as a lower number, right? So it's basically like how much credit you have, how good you are at managing those accounts. Because let's say that you have a credit card that's got a max set at $1,000, right? And you might spend $300, every 6 months on that credit card, make those minimum payments, and you're like, man, I'm golden, never missed a payment. My payment history is perfect. You go and you want to purchase that $400,000 home. The bank's going to look at you like you're crazy because, yes, you're making that $35 payment every month. That's not the same as making that $2,000 payment every month. They're going to look at that credit report and they're going to be like, this individual right here hasn't taken on responsibility. This individual right here, all they've been working with is a single credit card. And then they're going to look at what you're asking for and they're going to turn you down because your credit score is still not going to be where it needs to be. So what I tell people is go out, open up new accounts, get new cards through different banks, and then set specific purposes for each card and make sure to use different passwords and challenge questions for every new card that you activate to ensure that your personal information remains secure. So open up those new cards through those new accounts through different banks. Then you'll have one card that you have specifically for gas. That's what you buy your gas with. You'll have another card. All that card is used for is car payments. You'll have another card, groceries. You'll have another card. That card might be used for date night. That's all those cards are used for. They have one specific purpose. Then you go in, like we said, in the short term, you set all of it. If it's for a payable bill, like a car payment, set it to auto pay. And that's the only thing that that card is used for, point blank, period, right? If you do not have the maturity and discipline to follow that guidance and have those specific purposes, if you say to yourself, oh, I can go out and get 10 cards, but I'm probably going to max all of them out. I'm probably going to go splurge. I'm probably going to go shopping. I'm probably going to do. This is not a plan for you, right? You have got to hold yourself to the fact that you're going to set those purposes for each card, and that's the only thing that those cards are going to be used for, right? So you have to be responsible whenever you're trying to do something like this. But open up those accounts, have specific purposes for each card. Make sure that you set the things that can be set, the monthly bills, to auto pay for those cards so nothing goes overdue. Then, what you need to do is you need to keep your accounts at a utilization percentage of around 15%, right? That means, let's say that you have one card, it maxes out at $1,000. You should never have that card show a statement balance or an account balance of more than $150 after the statement comes out at the end of the month or the beginning of the next month. So let's say that you have a credit card that's got $1,000 max on it. Let's say that you go out and you use it to spend $300. You need to, at a minimum, pay enough on that card by the end of the month to drop it back down to that 15% utilization mark. So, whatever you spend on the card, it has to get back down to 15% by the end of the month when the statement comes out for that card. Now, next thing, if you are considering at any point in time, which I just tell people not to do this in general because either way it's going to affect your credit score. But if you're ever considering at any point in time closing an account, you need to try to close a newer account before closing some of your older accounts. The reason for this is this actually affects the age range of your credit history, which will affect your credit score. So let's say that you have 5 accounts that you opened up at the exact same time 10 years ago. Your credit history, the age of your credit history will be 10 years. Then, let's say that you open up today 2 accounts today. The age of your credit history will drop down to 5 years. The reason for that is they actually take the average time from each account. So they take the time from each account, they add all those numbers up, they divide by the number of accounts that you have. Whatever the average time is the age of your credit history. So let's say you got 10 accounts and you want to close one, and you close the one that you've had the longest. The age of your credit history is going to drop dramatically, which is going to drop your credit score. So just keep that in mind, guys, because that's how it works. Yeah, that's all the bullets that I got for you guys today. That is my personal advice if you guys are needing or wanting to raise your credit score, short term versus long term pathways. And yeah, I mean, it's worked for me. I've spent the last 2.5 years working on my credit score, and I've raised my credit score. It's been almost 150 points, and that's even with taking a hit about 12 months ago because me and my wife, I forgot to have everything set to auto pay. You know, I got busy, I got distracted, missed one of those payments. My credit score dropped 40 points. But, you know, I didn't let it bother me too much because, you know, we didn't have any big purchases coming up. And I put in that work, buckled down, and it, you know, it is where it is now. So, I mean, if I can get my credit score up that much, and I started with a very low credit score, with a lot of debt, with a lot of loans that had defaulted, that had went into collections. I had a lot of those negative hits, negative note entries in my credit report. I started with all those things against me, and I was still able to do it. And I did it using those tips, using those tricks, and using the information of how the credit report works, how it's actually calculated, and what factors contribute to that score changing. I used all that information to help me raise my credit score and get it where it is today. And so I wanted to do a video for you guys, give y'all that information. Hopefully it will benefit you, and hopefully you guys can get your credit score where it needs to be so that you guys can go out, make those purchases, and get those approvals and get those low APRs so that you're saving money, and you're saving money while getting the things that you really want. Well, guys, that's today's video. I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. If you can relate to this video, if you thought that this information was beneficial, and if you really enjoyed this content, like I said, if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on videos I put out in the future. Guys, I'm going to get off here, but before I do, just remember, even if you don't realize it, even if you don't believe it, there is a warrior in every single one of you, and I see it. Take care.